Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I am Sunique. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you've been here before. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot, it really does. And all the comments and kind words that I've had since Kai passed away, they've meant so much. And I just want to say thank you. It's been so comforting. I bought myself a little piece of white calcite. And it's in the shape of a dog. Isn't that gorgeous? I couldn't resist. And calcite is such a loving energy. So yeah, let him join us today. I might actually have him in my videos from now on. But it has, as crystals do, given me some healing energy, which I really appreciate. Along those lines, I'm going to be very authentic in this video. So if any of this isn't aligning with you, please, feel free to end this video and not go on this journey with me. But recently I saw a video with T. Susan Chang interviewing Theresa Reed. It came up on my feed and I thought that's a bit strange. And it was talking about when we are faced with life's challenges, some help and some advice with the cards. And I thought, I'm going to get this book, I'm going to explore this book, and it has opened up some lines of inquiry for me. So I'd like to share a little bit, if I may. Okay, so obviously for me, the chapters that I was most interested in are about loss. So let me just show you this book. It's quite recent, I think, 2023. And I love that there's a shout out to Rachel Pollock, who taught me so much. Your legacy will continue to inspire. And I'm actually listening to 78 Degrees Wisdom on Audible. I've read that book years and years ago, but I've gone back to it a little bit and relearning. So I think it's always good to actually brush up on the basics, if you like. But Rachel is such a wealth of knowledge. But I have the very old book. This one. Yeah, I've had it a long time. You can see it's... if you look at the pages, and you can see I've had it a long time. It's well worn. But yeah, so I thought I'd listen to it on Audible as I'm walking, which is what I've been doing. So back to this book. Yeah, I probably will get sidetracked in this video, as I am. Preface the death cards. So a little warning here: if this is not something you're going to be comfortable with, then please, feel free to click off this video. I won't be offended. It's totally understandable. For me, this is going to be a very useful book. There's some very useful tarot exercises in here. Tarot for illness and healing. So I'm going to get real. I've never done this before. But here we go. I have been poorly all my life, since a child, with Crohn's disease, which has been very challenging and throws up other side effects like arthritis and pain. I'm not going to go into all of that, but it has been difficult and also led to infertility, which also led to breakdown of my first marriage. And so my identity as a woman was something I struggled with for many years, given the fact I couldn't bear children. And so I don't know if it's depression, but a lack of self-worth, if you like, based on society's expectations of what a woman is, So a woman becomes a mother, which I was unable to do, and also has a career, which I was also unable to do because of the limitations of Crohn's. So I was left with, well, why am I here sort of scenario. What is my role here? And through the years I found that my role, the role I was always called to, was teaching. And so that's where I have focused. I've focused on learning therapies. And that came about quite interestingly, actually, because I went to a doctor, an NHS doctor, who provided hypnotherapy and encouraged me to train in hypnotherapy, which I did. I also trained in so many other modalities, from massage, Indian head massage, full body massage, crystal therapy, reflexology, a whole gamut of therapies. And I practiced in those, and then I came to teach those. And I taught on a foundation degree course. And also my tarot practice went alongside that. So I've been practicing tarot now 30 odd years. You'd think I'd know it by now. But we learn and learn as we go, don't we? There's always more to learn, I think. My biggest learning curve actually was doing the Deacon Walk on 2022 to 2023. That really deepened my knowledge in real time, because I took note of what was going on in my surroundings, in my environment, along with that Deacon Walk. And so, in real life. So anyway, that's just a little brief scenario. So tarot for illness and healing is very interesting for me. Tarot for caregiving. Well, what's all this? I seem to have accumulated something on my nails. Anyway, when my mum was very, very poorly, I was a little bit of a caregiver. In fact, I was with her when she passed over. And so then we come on to good grief. Now, one of these here, talking to children, I thought was so, so relevant, because when I was a little girl, my sister died. And I didn't know what was going on. My sister was no longer around. I didn't understand why. 1 minute they were pushing her in a pushchair, and then the next I knew, she wasn't around anymore, and no one explained it to me. And on the day of her funeral, my mum sent me to the hairdressers to get my hair trimmed, and she told the hairdresser to just, give my hair a trim while she was out sorting out the funeral arrangements for my sister. And when she came back, she found me crying because this hairdresser had pretty much cut all my hair off. So short, I was distressed. And of course that added to her distress. And it was a very strange time, and one I just didn't understand. So I think it's really important to be able to talk to children quite honestly from my own experience. She died around bonfire night. Of whooping cough, actually. And the doctor wouldn't come out because there were so many emergencies with fireworks, firework accidents, that he couldn't get out. And so my mum had to deal with all that as well. And she kept a diary. Many, many years later, I think in my 30s, I asked her if I could have that diary. And she allowed me, under the proviso that I never share it with anyone, because it was the year that my sister died. And of course, she poured her heart out in there. And that gave me resolution to be able to see her point of view and see what was going on from an adult's point of view now, because obviously I'm older, and coming to terms with understanding a part of my childhood that was completely, I don't know what the word is, I just didn't understand what was going on, pushed aside, told to go and play, told to get out of the way, basically. Of course, Mum and Dad were both dealing with their own grief, and they couldn't deal with me as well. So anyway, so that's talking to children. Tarot for dying. As I said, I was there when my mum died. I've had quite a few deaths to deal with. We all deal with death, I know this. And now the loss of my dear Kai. He was with me for 13 and a half years, nearly 14 years. And it's just me and him. And so this is why I'm feeling the loss so deeply, really. So Theresa does give advice of what we can do, such as journaling. In the beginning of this book, there's also reference to the cards. So if you're unfamiliar with tarot, this first part of the book deals with that. And we also have some of this belly breathing. That's great, isn't it? Questions, how to formulate a question. Then we're into the meanings. So we have, and all through it, she gives these pro tips. So we have the majors and the minors. And then for each section, Theresa goes through each of those challenges that we face through life, and very rarely do anyone get away with not facing these challenges. But Theresa also gives these spreads. And so what I thought, like this, how to deal when life gets real, what I thought is we'd do a spread, or I'm going to do a spread. I mean, this is great as well, you know, what to say, what not to say in every section. So if this reading is for somebody else, then it gives you those pointers. So for grief, we have read all this, how we are supposed to act when death visits, you know, what society expects of us, and Theresa's own experience with that as well. Different ways that they grieve. So some people will cry, some people will ignore it and pretend it's not happening, basically all that sort of thing. Some advice to help you when you're grieving. As I said, she does give suggestions here. And this one really has been helpful to me about getting moving, move your body. I am forcing myself to walk the longer walks now, because what use am I if I make myself poorly, you know, by not exercising? I just support people who are grieving, and, you know, things not to say, oh, he's in a better place. You know, we don't know what to say, do we, when someone dies? So simple ways to help someone who is grieving, which I thought this section is brilliant. And especially here, gift certificates for massages, pedicures or other self-care are always appreciated. Sometimes grieving people forget to take care of themselves. That is so true. That is so true. We go so deep into our emotions and trying to cope with the loss of a loved one. We do forget to take care of ourselves, and it's very, very important. As I said, you know, what use are we to ourselves or anybody else if we get poorly? Then, you know, not a good idea. So anyway, tarot for grief, and we've got a grief spread here. Card one, what do I need to look at right now, and what can I learn from my anger? So this is going through the stages of grief. What can I do to find peace in the present moment? What is my sadness trying to tell me, and what do I need to accept at this time? We've got a breakdown of the card positions there. Words left unsaid, so that's quite common, isn't it? I wish I'd said this, I wish I'd done that. So there is help there. We've got a mediumship spread here. We've got significators we can use to stand in for the person we're reading about. So one's fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. We can go on the birth dates. Depending on the information provided, I'll choose a card for both of them. For example, if I was doing a reading for my friend Dave, who is a fellow Gemini, I would choose the Knight of Swords. And then if the querent is asking about a pet, High Priestess would represent the pet. Why? Because it represents the veil between worlds, it makes sense to use this card as a significator for the preceding situations. That being said, some folks do like to choose their own card with a similar animal for readings about pets. I'll leave that up to you. Now, with Kai, I always saw him as me being the fool in the tarot journey and him being my little white dog. And so for me, if the fool comes up, it's going to have some special meaning. There's a sample spread here. Some general rules. Again, for questions about pets, look for cards with animals. For example, if you're reading about a dog and the fool shows up, it's a great omen. And then we have some examples again here. And another way to connect. Okay. What I thought I would do is have a go at this one. So we take the High Priestess, because this is the veil between worlds, and I'm using the Universal Waite because It is Rider-Waite Smith, but it's coloured pencil, so it's very, very gentle deck. So let's find the High Priestess. There's my form. There am I. Oh, there's Kai. Oh, getting emotional. Yeah, High Priestess. So I'm going to take the High Priestess. Now, my significator card is the Knight of Wands. So let's find the Knight of Wands. Straight away. There it is. So those are their cards. So the journey and the message. Okay, so we're going to draw 3 cards for the journey. So that's the card for Kai, and that's the card for me. 3 cards for the journey and pull 3 cards for the message. Okay. I'm going to have to give these a really good shuffle because it looks like all the majors are separated. Okay. I've got an immediate reaction here without looking at this book for their meanings, but I do have an immediate reaction. So Kai was fighting to stay healthy. He wanted to still, and so did I, you know, we both wanted that healthy vigour that we used to have together, and fighting his poor health just was too much, and this is what it led to. That was the journey, and yes, it visits us all, don't we? None of us go away with it, do we? Let's see what the book says. So yeah, it's all about a struggle. So this was the struggle that we were both facing here, the struggle to keep going, the struggle to have this energy to fight for life. And he put up a brilliant fight. It says in the book here, sometimes this card could be about important communication. It could be bad news. And obviously it was bad news. But it's a transition, you know. Kai has moved on. Anyway, that was the journey. Let's not dwell too much on that because it's happened. Poor boy fighting, struggling. He was struggling to walk. He was struggling to stand up. Okay, so that was the journey. So what's the message? What's the message I can take away from this challenging experience? Oh. Life is cruel. Life is very cruel. We had a wonderful, wonderful relationship. What can I say? This is just the opportunity here to find the courage to just appreciate what we had, to not really rob myself of this experience by trying to move on too fast, but take the opportunity to appreciate what we had together. This infinity symbol, you know, and it was reciprocal. We gave to each other, you know. I looked after him and he gave so much in return. Dogs do, don't they? You know, I know this is a lion, but his little tongue, the adoring way he looks at the maiden, a little bit like Kai's fur there. It's very much like that when it grew. There will come a time when I can move on. Kai's already gone. The mountain's here, look, in both cards. The green is here in both cards. This is growth. We had this experience together that was fantastic. It's so special. And it was, life robbed me of him. If you want to look at it that way, I feel like I've been robbed of that special relationship, and it will never come again. And I don't think I'll ever have another dog again. This is the last one. But yeah, it was a special relationship. I'm just looking at the book, so part of it, this card can be seen as a helping hand. An offer is extended which could move your life in a better direction. It can also mean taking the first steps on a new path that has the potential for growth. Set new goals, take a different route, commit to the life you want. Everything is possible. And it is, because now I don't have the responsibility, I couldn't leave him for more than a couple of hours, really. And he was one of these dogs that had separation anxiety. And so, for the past 13 and a half years, his needs have come before mine. And now the world's opening up, I can actually just go and not worry about having to get back for a certain time, not worry about taking him with me and his meal times, all the rest of it that comes with the responsibility of having a dog. And so, because that is no longer a part of my life, he's no longer a part of my life, then there is a new direction I can take, a new world I can explore. I can go on holiday without having to worry about finding someone to take care of him whilst I'm away. I'm not there yet, though. So in the book here, the Strength card is always a sound card to see in readings about health. It symbolises overcoming a hard battle. Your strength prevails, or you find it at last. You have the power and the will to survive. You've got everything under control. Sometimes the Strength card refers to a support system. The right help is around you at this time. And I've had some really nice cards from friends, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect to have sympathy cards for a dog, to be fair. But it also refers to spirit guides, a guardian angel, or in the form of a loved one who's always by your side. And I do think he's by my side in spirit. The card can also indicate a test of courage. You're about to learn how powerful you are. Remain resolute, trust in your ability to handle whatever tests you're given. Tackle the hard stuff, but don't lose your soft side. There's nothing wrong with having strong feelings, but keep them in check. The Five of Swords doesn't really relate in the book to the way I'm feeling, but the way I'm seeing this card is one of feeling upset. I am identifying with this figure, with the sea here of emotions, with the subconscious. And that's where I think working with decks like that Dark Reflections Tarot that I used in my last video to understand my psyche is a good thing to do. And actually this morning I drew an oracle card. I'll just get the deck. So this Fiona Horn Dark Magic Oracle, Reveal the Light Within. I don't know, this deck was calling to me this morning and I thought, let's draw a card. So the card that I drew is here on the top. And we can see these black birds here on this lady's spine. And it's called Sonnet, Express Your Creative Heart. Now, as part of my grief buying, I have bought 2 little cameras. And it's spring. So my thoughts were to actually go out with these cameras, learn how to use them first because they're little action cameras. Go out with these cameras and record the beauty that I see and maybe share with you. And then that card came up this morning, so I thought that was weird. Anyway, Express your creative heart. Your creative heart is calling out to express itself. The blackbirds of sonnet are symbols of your goals, dreams, and aspirations, which are ready and waiting to fly. Inside every person lives an internal critic who is watching over their shoulder as they write or paint, who blocks their ears when they sing. When sonnet appears, it's a sign to give yourself a chance to express your creative side, to quiet the inner voices of doubt and banish your inner critic. You may worry that no one will like what you do, that no one will care. Sonnet says the only person you need to impress is yourself. Love what you are making, love what you do, and just as like attracts like, others will love it too. Sonnet says it's time to step away from the computer screen, Pinterest board, TikTok and Instagram feeds. Find real inspiration in the world outside. Sit in a coffee shop and people watch like people did before smartphones. Notice the movement and smiles of the humans around you and the animals with them. Imagine their stories, their concerns, their joys. Sit in a park and watch the leaves rustle and clouds bustle across the sky. Make notes of ideas for songs, poetry and stories. Take a sketchbook on a hike and capture the energy of a place with a drawing instead of a photo. Let life fuel your creative soul. Trust your vision and express it just because it feels good. The blackbirds want to fly. When you make art that honours the inner you and that you truly care about, other people will care too. And then it's got a shadow work aspect. And it says create a sacred offering of art again. Think of a person you would like to create something special for. It may be for yourself, but perhaps consider someone else who would benefit. There's somebody in this little town who calls themselves the Knitting Nana. And they knit these little owls. Well, they're quite big actually, but they knit these owls in all different colours, very pretty, and then put them in these, plastic see-through covers, and they leave them in various spots around the town or around the parks for children to find. I think that's lovely. Creativity is an expression of divine light and love. When that energy is sent out into the universe, it magnifies like ripples on a lake. Dedicate a day to express your creative soul. Burn cinnamon and nutmeg incense to stimulate your creative vision. Have multiple candles lit so the energy of fire burns away any blockages from your expressing your visionary core. Dress in clothing that stimulates your inner canvas or instrument. It may be black, representing the creative core of the universe. It may be silver for lunar inspiration, or a rainbow palette, expressing all cosmic potential. Create as you feel inspired. Paint, draw, sing, write, weave, dance. If you're feeling stuck for ideas, then take yourself out of the equation and think of another. What would serve them? Make them smile. Make them laugh. This is different from the feeling of impressing an audience. This is no one judging you. Express yourself simply, to give unconditionally. And then we have a daily practice. It says, carry or wear malachite. This is aligned with synchronicity. This crystal can guide you towards new paths and creative expression, giving confidence. It can also attract other creative people to you to help grow your gifts. And then the second practice, start each day with meditation and green tea to connect with your creative heart and stimulate your intuitive vision and motivation. Isn't that beautiful? I thought that was amazing. An amazing card to draw today. It looks so sad. This person against a wall. But they look so depressed, so down, so unhappy. And yet, these blackbirds want to fly. They want to create. And of course, creativity is the opposite of death, really, isn't it? To create something that wasn't there before you created it is just such a magical practice. And a while ago, I bought a cover from Hand Stitch Leather Tea. I love these designers. They are in the Ukraine. So it comes in this red cloth bag, canvas bag actually. So this is the journal cover, and it's suede, it's brown suede, and it's got this lovely little charm on it. Isn't that gorgeous? So I chose a blue. It's a trifold. Yeah. Yeah, suede. It's absolutely beautiful to the touch. And so I've got a Kinball, an old Kinball, and I thought what I intend to do with this is just keep it with me, and whenever I want to write something, be that a poem or a song or a scribble or a thought, then I could put in this beautiful suede journal cover. It's an A5. And I do really like hand stitched leather tees goods. I've got a few of their journals, but leather ones, not suede. But they only do suede in the trifold, and I wanted a trifold. I've been looking at Paper Republic. Wow, they're expensive. And when I was in Paris, I was thinking about Louise Carmen journal, but I didn't go. I didn't visit them. You know, again, you know, when you get a journal cover from them and then you start to add charms and things to it, you're talking about £500, and I think that's just ridiculous for a journal cover, even though it's leather. With Paper Republic, if you do, you know, you design your own, I think it's about 300. So maybe, I don't know, I'll see how I get on, but this is nowhere near that price, and it's absolutely beautiful. But how long it'll last, I don't know, because it is, as I said, it's suede. But I like suede because, you know, the nap is lovely. So anyway, I've whittled on a little bit, but I'm healing. And I do truly feel that I'm coming through the other side of this now. I'm seeing the path out of my grief. You know, those walks that I'm doing now without him. It is challenging, as the mountain indicates. There's that saying, isn't there, that grief is the price of love. And some people might say, "I'll get over it, it's only a dog." But it was more than a dog to me, you know, more than a dog. So one final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the Fool in the tarot and look at the cards either side of them and see if there's a message for me there. Just a final message. Okay. It's the same. It's the same message. Look at that. This situation was devastating, absolutely devastating. It rocked my foundations, you know, having to go through this. You know, the life that I've known in the last 13 and a half years is totally changed. Totally changed. But we have the Six of Swords here, and this troubled water that we were going through is over now. We're going towards a calmer place, calmer in thoughts, and, you know, water's about emotions, so calmer emotions will calm my thoughts. I'll never forget him. I will always have him with me. I mean, we've got the relationship here as well, you know, looking after another person. But what I'm also seeing is the river Styx and the ferryman. That my little Kai is now on his way to the other side, and it's devastating to me. But my emotions will stabilise, you know, they might still be a little bit rocky, and I still tear up. It's been 2 weeks and I'm still tearing up, but each day a little less. I'm coping with it a little more. And so I will reach the far shore. But I need to be gentle with myself because this has really been an upsetting experience. Okay, so that's using the tarot for a very challenging, upsetting situation. and how possibly it can help. And I do hope you found this video of mine helpful. And thank you so much for your understanding. I'll get back on track. And thank you for your understanding, for your kind words and kind thoughts. And until my next video, from myself and the spirit of Kaiba, thank you so much for being here. Until my next video, please join me again. Bye friends, bye.